thanks very much, everyone. So I'm not selling you anything, but I am going to ask you to do a bit of low-level activism. So you don't need to chain yourself to anything or throw paint over artwork, but I do need you to use your phone, okay? This is a picture that I took down in Denmark 2 weeks ago, and I'm sure you've all noticed there are lots of dead trees in every suburb. Unfortunately, it's been a very long, hot, and record-breaking summer, and climate change is here, and it's going to affect our patients, their well-being, and their healthcare. And one of the big problems that this is because there's a lot of waste in Australian healthcare. So if we look at that, 7% of all CO2 emissions in Australia are related to healthcare. We can break that down. 20% of that is related to buildings, electricity, gas, etc. But 80% is clinical care. So that's pharmaceuticals, drugs, vaccines, consumables, pathology tests. Now, if you look at that 80%, 60% is of value. It makes patients better. 30% is of low value, doesn't do anything for patients, and 10% is harmful. So if you take that 40%, the 30% low value, 10% harmful, that is 2.24% of CO2 emissions in Australia. I want to particularly talk to you about pathology tests. We do a lot of pathology tests. Most consultations have a pathology test as part of them. We did 80 million tests in 2020 in the community. We know it's big business. It's $5 billion a year in business. And we also know that 30 to 40% of these tests are a complete waste of time and potentially harmful. Now, one of the drivers of doing pathology tests is not knowing previous tests. Now, we have the My Health record, and we all know that that's pretty clunky and rubbish. One of the reasons it's clunky and rubbish is because pathology companies want us to do more tests, and they know if we have that data, we'll do more we'll do less tests. So 8 years ago, I raised some money and built a database where you can see everyone's pathology from 2005 onwards. We're going to look at Elvis. This is his some personal details. And these are all Elvis's tests. Clearly, he's a made-up patient. You can click on a test, and you can go from test to test, which isn't particularly interesting. You can write notes next to it if you want to. But what you can also do is you can put it into a big data matrix. So whilst you're talking to the patient, you can crunch through an enormous amounts of data as you do it, which is really, really powerful, particularly in chronic diseases. You can also draw a graph. That's all of his hemoglobin. You can zoom in. You can see one particular test that you want to. There it is. And you can click on another test as well. You can also download that into an Excel file if you really want to. And we know from managing chronic disease, we need to search for specific tests. So this database, unlike My Health Record, is searchable. So there's all Elvis's PSAs from 2005 onwards. And you click on a test, and there you can draw a graph, and that's Elvis's tests. A really, really powerful tool. You understand. So in 2019, we did a trial in a hospital outpatient clinic, 2 specialist rooms, and in a GP practice. Shout out to Ellen Health in Fremantle. Thank you for your time. Anyway, after the 6 months, surprise, surprise, we get better healthcare if doctors have better access to data. They're more confident about diagnoses. They start patients on treatment sooner, 2.4 patients per clinic. They discharge more patients, and they order less blood tests. And this graph shows that pathology costs in the clinic came down by 60%. As Fiona Wood said, myPathology is a no-brainer. Then what happened? Well, COVID came, and basically there's no political impetus to do this. The pathology companies want to block it, and if you're an administrator, it's just a bit too hard. So we're trying to do another trial with WAFA, with PathWest, and with My Health Record, but we're sort of waiting funding. And this is where your activism comes in. I'd really, really like it if you could click on this QR code. This will generate an email to the health minister, and all it says is we need atomic data in My Health Record now. We don't need it in 2 years, we need it now. Now this tool is ready to go, but the politicians do not know how important it is, and the politicians do not understand that they won't change things unless we give them pressure. So for whatever reason you do it for your patients, do it to reduce waste, do it for the environment, and do it to give 2 fingers to the pathology companies. Thank you.